she can't hear me. She hears hello.
Do you hear it the second time?
Yeah.
Do you hear it the first time?
Yeah.
So what do I do it the second time?
Welcome, everyone.
You're just sitting there letting me wallow in this misunderstanding. Anyway, so welcome back, everybody. I hope everybody's having a lovely weekend.
Yeah, welcome to Bible Prophecy and Truth for all the new people. My name's Dan. I'm the author of BibleProphecyandTruth.com. And this is my wife, Kelleen, co-hosting, and her sister and our sister in Christ, Diane. So welcome. Today we're going to be talking about the news since our last live and how it relates to biblical prophecy. We're going to be looking at chapter 20 of my book/website, beginning the discussion of creation versus evolution. It's another very interesting study. And then we're going to drop off of YouTube again today and have a couple other things to talk about at the very end after we leave the word police, YouTube, and a couple things there. So, my darling.
Yes.
Would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and share this video with your friends, and head over to Rumble and follow us there, please, because we probably are going to get closed down, shut off, wiped out of YouTube.
Yeah.
So please start an account. That's necessary.
Yeah. The word police are getting tougher these days. In fact, that's one of the articles I have to show about that.
Yes.
Coming soon stuff.
Yes.
Sissy. Hey, Jay.
Okay.
Hey, brother.
No, please go ahead. I'll listen.
That's so funny. Okay. Hi, Jay.
Okay, you can't see that? Okay, I'm going to read it for you. So Mr. Carty here has some pretty interesting information for us. If you are tired of going on the internet and getting lied to, all these people putting videos out on when is the end of the world, anything that has to do with the Bible, well, here's a place you're going to find nothing but the truth. Dan has compiled a bunch of his notes, or all of his notes, onto one website. And it's in detail, so it's easy to understand. You can go to BibleProphecyandTruth.com. If you have any questions or comments, you can email him at prophecyandtruth@gmail.com. Now, also, it's really important that you go to either YouTube or Rumble. You can go to youtube.com/prophecyandtruth. Watch our live streams. I encourage you to do that. And again, he gets into detail about things from the Bible. Really interesting stuff. You can comment if you'd like to, ask a question. If not, you can even not say anything and just listen. Okay. The other place you can go is rumble.com/BibleProphecy. Also on these websites, you can see a lot of different videos that we put together. You can also go to videos.prophecyandtruth.com. That's a lot of information. So here it is.
and it's on the banner at the bottom of the screen.
Thank you, Diane. Appreciate it.
Hello, Moonhawk.
Hey, Moonhawk.
Of course, I kind of miss Amerigun.
Yeah, me too.
I really do. I miss Amerigun.
Moonhawk's
We don't,
cool
but
name,
I don't deal well with change. I like Amerigun because I know Amerigun for who Amerigun is. Okay. But if he wants to be Moonhawk, then I will call him Moon.
Okay.
Mooney.
Moonhawk. I think Moonhawk's a cool name.
It's very cool. But I don't deal well with change. I like Amerigun, so I will call him Moon.
Wow.
So, and then a quick correction.
Jay.
Inconsequential, really, correction. But Diane said that I have all of my notes on my website. Well, I have I have over 100 articles on my website. I think it's getting closer to 200 these days. It's not even close to all of my notes, but all of the notes that I have made sense of well enough for people to read. I've got my OneDrive has a folder with hundreds of text files that I continually to add to and add notes to as I study it. And gobs and gobs of notes. But anyway.
Pretty interesting stuff, though.
Yeah, very interesting stuff.
Moonhawk says,
all about the Bible.
I like hawks. They eat snakes. Okay, well, we will call you Hawks from now on.
Like that.
Okay, yes.
Now we want to.
Now we want to. Yeah.
So I'm going to share my screen and we will get started. I know y'all were already looking at my screen, but Diane needs to see too.
Yeah.
So, and you get to see our pretty faces on the side of the screen there. So. So we're going to start with the news as we usually do. And when is the end of the world? The signs that herald the coming of Christ. If you haven't seen the When is the End of the World article, if you're new to this channel, if you go to BibleProphecyandTruth.com, on the home screen, if you scroll about halfway down or so, there's this picture. When is the end of the world? And it has all of the signs that Jesus gave that would herald his coming, and talks about the data on those signs and what's happening in the world right now, and how we're so there. We are so there. All of the signs that Jesus gave are coming to pass now. And one of the things that I talk about a lot, and by the way, I'm one of those people, I'm kind of a data guy. I like the data. I don't really care so much about how pretty it looks. I look the data. But you can actually make this prettier, which I can do.
Oh.
And
I like that.
And you asked, oops.
Where'd we go?
Where did my little picture go?
Annie, can you see us?
Yeah.
Oh, she's still there.
I must have clicked the X. Silly me.
She can still see us.
Yeah, I can see everything.
Let me figure out how to get us back on the screen now. I'm sorry about that. Hide meeting controls. Share. I've already done that. Oh boy. There we are. We're back. Okay. Sorry about that. But anyway, I was trying to click. I clicked on the full screen thing. I was trying to click here because last week, I think it was Diane asked, what are the colors? What do they represent? And well, there's a little key here. And basically the colors mean if it's red, it's in the last hour. If it's orange, the last day, yellow, the last week, white, a month, or gray is older. Okay. So that's what the colors mean. So how old it is, the age of it. But then what I wanted to talk about today was when we look at this, just in the last few days, we've had a 7.1 in the Philippines, 6.6 out of South Africa, 6.4 in Canada, a 6.2 in Japan. And these are things, if we look at the last 30 days of 4.5 plus, we've actually had 403 earthquakes. We've had 2 greater than 7 magnitude, which is a very major earthquake. Lots of 6s in the last 30 days. It's just, this is not normal. It has never been normal for this much activity. And I'm really surprised that I said this last time, I think. I'm really surprised that nobody talks about this. There's nobody in the news that
Maybe it's
talks
because
about
it's not really
the
doing any
quakes.
damage or something.
Well, when one does damage and it's, it causes loss of life, then they talk about it, but nobody's talking about the frequency and the magnitude of earthquakes that are happening around the world.
Maybe they're in places where they're so used to getting them, like Japan is used to getting them, so they don't report them all over the world.
But what I'm talking about is the frequency. The frequency of earthquakes has been growing. Now, granted, it's been growing over the last few decades, so maybe it's not such a big thing because the last 10 years or so it hasn't really changed that much, but it seems like a significant thing that people would talk about.
People aren't looking for the signs.
Well, I know, but even if you're not looking for the signs that Jesus gave, this would be significant stuff to report on and talk about, I would think. But
yeah, I would.
But anyway, so we had some recent activity that's notable. So nothing else significant to report on from the last few days. So other than the earthquakes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to throw this out there. I'm not promoting this. I'm not saying act for Israel or anything. It's just I'm putting this news article up here because it really is fake news. And that's the point I'm making. This is typical propaganda from Islam. It's hugely exaggerated. In fact, the true number of casualties in Gaza from the war are mostly due to Hamas forcing them to stay in the military zones so that when a military site is attacked, civilians get killed, and they do it on purpose. They're killing their own people so that they can point their finger at Israel. It's the most horrific, awful, despicable thing in the world.
Hi, Sheila.
But that's what they're doing. Hey, Sheila, welcome.
She said hi, family.
So, like I said, I'm not promoting this. I'm just showing it to you because it is a ridiculously exaggerated number. It's so outlandishly exaggerated that it's laughable.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculously inflated. It's crazy. And then I have to put this up here too, because Glenn Beck, I don't know how many people know this, but he's a Mormon. Mm-hmm. He is not a Christian. He does not believe in the Jesus of the Bible. If you've ever studied anything about Mormonism, they think Jesus and Lucifer are brothers. And they think that all kinds of crazy things, that there's countless trillions of gods, and Elohim, God the Father, is just one of many,
and I've
many,
heard
many
him say that the world is billions of years, or 10,000 or 100,000 years, and I'm like, okay, dude, you're not even reading the Bible.
So just so you know, Mormons don't believe in the Jesus of the Bible. They say that they do, but the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine of the Covenants, all the the Melchizedek, blah blah blah, all of their books are all completely outside of and contradict with the Bible, 100%. So just so you know, Glenn Beck is not a Christian. He says turning back to God, and talks about, as if we're all, interfaithism, right? This interfaith crap that everybody's preaching. Mm-hmm. We're turning back to God because we all worship the same God, kind of nonsense. And then, urging everyone to provide tefillin for the IDF soldiers, which is it's some kind of ritualistic thing for, Judaism. So both of those things, providing tefillin for IDF soldiers is not a Christian thing. It's not turning back to God. He doesn't even believe in the God of the Bible. And
so do they consider him to be a part of the Christian class?
That's what most people
Yeah,
think
but
of him
he's-
as. Yeah.
I like him for his
Those-
politics.
Those three churches are for Christians, Muslims, and Jews.
And Jews,
So,
the temple, right? The interfaith
so
temple
they're
that Pope
considered
Francis
Jews.
built. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Mormons are not part of that, but they consider themselves Christian, or
Yeah.
they present themselves, as the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, blah, 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 a
Yeah.
bunch of nonsense. But it's so ridiculous that the interfaithism runs so deep. And that's, Satan is using all of these popular podcasters.
Yeah, that are right wing. I mean, they're conservative.
Yeah.
Politically, I like what he stands for.
Right. And that's, a lot of people get upset when I talk about
Yeah, because they like
Glenn Beck and Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones,
which I like them for their
because
politics.
they're Tucker Carlson has kind of proven himself to be,
kind of weird.
not really. He's kind of what's the word? It's slipping my tongue right now. Controlled opposition, right? Where he's trying to make us like this nice elderly gentleman Putin, who is a criminal,
And a
murderer,
communist.
and then he was in Russia trying to make us think that Russia's really not such a bad place, showing us things that were blatant lies and deceit. Tucker Carlson is not such the nice guy that everybody seems to think that he is. He's working for someone. Yeah. Controlled op is what it looks like. So,
hey, Jody.
Hey, Jody, welcome. So if you haven't seen, I did a newsletter on this, popular podcasters, and a newsletter on the conditioning of Satan and how it goes so deep. It's incredible how deep the conditioning goes. It's in movies, it's in video games, it's in cultural norms like Mother Nature and Holy Mother, and it's just so deeply ingrained in our cultures and societies today where we just don't even think about it, but it's so deep. If you haven't seen it,
Sheila has a question.
Okay, let me finish this real quick though. If you haven't seen it, on videos.prophecyandtruth.com, when you go to that site, if you go to the modern day connections and scroll down a little bit, there's some videos here that I wanted to show you on this, where I have popular podcasters, the thing that I'm talking about, and then the subtle conditioning from Satan that I really encourage everyone to watch those videos if you haven't seen them before, or if you haven't read the articles on them. So go ahead. What was
Sheila says, what about the Jehovah Witness?
Jehovah's Witnesses do not believe in the Jesus of the Bible. They don't believe he's a deity. They don't believe he's the Son of God. They think he's just a prophet.
Like the Muslims.
They will argue tooth and nail at your door. I don't even bother anymore. I used to try to, show them the truth, but it's kind of like cognitive dissonance in a lot of these people for some reason. They just, you can show them whatever, but they don't believe in the Bible. They
have their own Bible.
They don't believe what the Bible says. So if you show them in the Bible, they don't care.
Right.
So, but no, they are not the true religion by any stretch. Same thing with Seventh-day Adventists. So many of the different Christian churches, thousands of them, they're all false religions from Satan that bear a resemblance to the truth, because what do the best liars do? They mix truth with their lie to make it so much more palatable. Well, that's what all of these false religions that bear a resemblance to the true religion of Jesus Christ, but they're false religions. And Satan is the best. He's the father of lies. He's a master deceiver. He is so good at this. And that's why this deception goes so deep, because it's been ingrained in our culture where we just accept things like that. Video games, a lot of times the gods of video games are a mother of some kind, like, Mother Mary, as the lie of Catholicism, right? There, Mary was just a woman very blessed to carry the baby Jesus in her womb, but she was just a Jewish woman. She's not a god. She's not a deity. She's not, you
Holy.
Can't pray to her.
She's not holy.
She's just a woman.
And she's by the bright spring of water. She's not alive anymore.
Right. So, there's just so many things just embedded in everything: movies, TV, video games, all kinds of cultural and society-based things that that we're all used to.
Yeah.
And it's just we need to look for it. We need to recognize it and look for it, because Satan's been really busy. Yeah. And if we just ignore all of this stuff, we're going to pass that ignoring it onto our children. We're not going to be able to help other people understand these things. And that's our calling as true Christians. If we really love God, our calling is to help further the kingdom of God. That's everyone's calling. And to talk to everyone about it, that will listen. Anyone that will listen, we should be talking to about it. Mm-hmm. If they won't listen, we should kick the dust off our shoes and move on to people that will. I mean, that's true Christianity. It's not going and sitting in a pew. Sorry. If you go to church and all you do is sit in a pew, that's not going to save you. Sorry to say. Actually, I'm not sorry to say. I'm proud to be the one to tell you that. Sitting in a pew is not going to save you. And remember Satan's plan, right? Satan's plan has literally been centuries in the making. This is not something new that he's just doing now. It's not even decades old. It's centuries old, the plans of Satan. And what he's doing right now is he's tearing the West apart. And one of the things, it's a new article that there's a video on, anti-white racism is literally tearing America apart. And this is all part of the plan: civil unrest, a race war, division, causing us to, even though, racism was really kind of becoming a thing of the past, but they're resurrecting it big time. They're trying to make, I want to say minorities, I guess minorities is a good PC word to use. They're trying to make minorities feel angry, that there's, so much, that they didn't get, that they should have got, and we've got to hate the white people because it's all their fault, and they're resurrecting racism so much so that it really is, it's working.
And they get angry when you tell them that, God loves all race people. He created all people, and they hate that.
According to God, there's no such thing as race. We're all sons and daughters of Adam and Eve.
Yeah. Yeah.
Period. We're all human beings created by God. Just because we have differences in our appearance doesn't mean that we're any kind of different human being. We're just human beings. It's so ridiculous. Anyway, and then they're preparing for the mark with the digital ID. Is an article on Canada is actually trying to move forward with the digital ID with this e-payroll system they're trying to implement there, where it's basically everybody's paychecks would go through the government channel, through this government e-payroll. And then you'd get paid for you. So your company would put the money in, and then it would come from there to you. So everything would go through the government, which gives them the ability to turn off your paycheck if they want to. It's all part of the digital ID system that they're trying to implement.
Why is Canada?
Well,
Has Canada always been that way? Because they are really, it's like they're pushing for communism.
it's like it's moving really, really fast
Really
recently.
fast,
And I don't think they've always been like that. I think
just
it's
thought
just
they were
been
just
very
real
recently they've
passive.
been, and maybe Jay can correct us if we're wrong, but I didn't think Canada, I thought Canada was kind of laid back.
I thought they were, real
But
passive, wave the white
but
flag.
they're certainly pushing this communistic crap really hard now. And then, the point of that I'm making here is that the United States is really right behind. We're not so far behind what Canada's doing. They've been trying to push a digital ID. They've created the CBDC.
We're just,
They've already got it in place. They just haven't implemented all the controls yet, and they're just biding their time. They're doing it slowly. It's kind of like, turning the water on and letting it heat slowly to boil the frog, and it doesn't notice. Same thing they're doing to us.
Jay says they were passive. This seems new.
So we're right. It's new. It's something they're pushing. Go ahead, Diane.
Yeah, because you never hear about Canada getting involved in anything.
I know.
Yeah, until recently, yeah. And actually, since
last few years,
since COVID, I think is when it really, hit the fan.
And maybe it's Trudeau.
Yeah, well, we know it's Trudeau,
but I
we
mean,
know he's the big puppet that they've got in place there. Yeah.
Yeah, just since Trudeau.
Maybe since him.
Yeah. Like I don't know who was their president before Trudeau.
I don't,
because I didn't really pay attention to Canada that much.
I visited Canada a couple of times up in Vancouver, BC, long time ago. Went to the World's Fair there back in 86 or something like that. 80 something. Anyway, moving on. So here's the thing I want to talk about today too, is this whole thing about Trump. That everybody I'm sure has heard about the assassination attempt on President Trump. And he says it was God alone who prevented the unthinkable. And we've got all these people saying, this was ordained by God. And I want to say, yes, that's absolutely true. But I want to point out something. Just like all of these podcasters and people up here are not from God. In fact, if you watch that particular video right there, you'll see how Alex Jones is really part of the Sikh religion. And it's very much like Hinduism, where you harness the power of the universe kind of stuff and eventually transcend, but they call themselves Christians. They pretend to be Christians at the same time, because they know that the majority of their listeners like that. They want them to be that, because then it makes them feel more comfortable. They're all a bunch of liars. Now, yes, I listen to them because of their political statements and the things they talk about, and they bring to light certain things, but not so much Alex Jones or especially Tucker anymore. But Glenn Beck, I listen to him. He's got some really good information, but we have to recognize that they're all liars and tools of Satan. We can listen to them and use them for information, but we can't listen to them about anything they talk about religion or God, period. You got to just blah, 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 just block it out. Don't even listen to that garbage, because they're all liars and tools of Satan. We've got to recognize that. And so the reason I bring this up is because Trump claims to be a Christian. But does he really love God? Is he?
Well, the Bible says you'll know them by their fruits.
Well, exactly. And that's my point.
Right.
He is one of the churchianity fake Christians of the world, right? He goes to church. He's got a prophetess for a preacher, and I'm sure he listens to all kinds of, I can't say this for sure. I probably shouldn't say anything. I don't know what he listens to, but I know that he does pretend to be a Christian. He does claim to be a Christian, but his fruit is not godly fruit. His fruit is worldly fruit. It's all about making money, big business. It's now politics. You know, is he a soldier in the army for Christ? No. You know, he's a typical churchian that says he's a Christian, and that so the reason I bring this up is not to upset anybody that likes Trump. I like Trump. I think he's the best choice for president because, in a worldly sense, he is our best choice. He's our only choice as far as I'm concerned at this point. But the reason I bring this up is not because I want you to think anything bad about Trump. It's important to understand and recognize the fruit that Jesus talked about. If we're really a Christian, we can recognize other Christians pretty easily. You can tell when somebody really loves God because that's their focus in life. They understand that this life is temporary, that the kingdom of God is what's permanent, and that's what's important, and that's what people that really love God are concerned about, is the permanent, not the temporary. But so my point in all this, and I know I'm going on and I'm kind of maybe elaborating too much, but I want to make sure everyone understands. I'm not knocking Trump. He's a typical churchian, very typical Christian of today. That doesn't, I probably never even read his Bible, probably does not understand what it means to be a Christian any more than most people who go to church do. They understand the lies that are taught from the pulpits. So my point is, yes, God is in control. For there is no power but God, and the powers that be are ordained of God. In Daniel 2, he's talking to Nebuchadnezzar at the time, and, you know, God removes kings and sets up kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to them that know understanding. God is the one who sets up kings and deposes kings. And even, and I want to point this out. If you've read the story of the Israelites' captivity in Egypt and how God brought them out of Egypt, when you read the story there, God tells Moses that I'm going to harden Pharaoh's heart. You don't need to worry about him saying no, because Moses was, kind of, argumentative there in the beginning with God, and God says, don't worry about it. I'm going to harden his heart. And then as you read through the story, the 10 plagues that God set upon Egypt, that in the beginning, the Pharaoh was like, no, I'm not going to let him go. He was just, forget it. But then later on, as things started getting really bad, when you read the scriptures and you look at the definition of the words used, God seized the mind of Pharaoh.
Because he was going to change his mind, and God didn't want him to change his mind yet.
And he even says why he did it. It was to show all the countries of the world the power of God, which he did. And he seized the mind of Pharaoh to make him continue to say no. And so, and just like Nebuchadnezzar and Daniel, God sets up kings. And whether or not they're good kings or bad kings, God puts them in place to do what God wants them to do. He's very much in control. And just like Pharaoh was not a godly man, Nebuchadnezzar was not a godly man, but God set them up for a purpose. So, yes, God prevented Trump from being assassinated.
Yeah. Wasn't time.
What?
Because it wasn't time for anything to happen.
Right. God has a purpose behind it. What that purpose is remains to be seen.
Right.
But obviously, God didn't want him dead right then. So yes, God
believe
did it,
Mhm.
but it's not because Trump is a godly man.
Yeah.
And that's the point I'm making.
He has a
It doesn't
purpose.
mean Trump is a godly man doing God's work and we should be so profoundly,
There's
you
a
know,
lot of people
you
who
know,
think that,
uh,
but he's a in a worldly standpoint, he's a nice man.
yes, he is a very nice man. He's the most non-racist man I've ever seen. When you go back and look at everything he's ever done in his life, he's not racist. He's very generous. He's very giving. He's a very nice person.
Yeah, but he's
But
not.
but he is not. He hasn't done anything to further the kingdom of God that I've ever seen.
Right.
He does not. He claims to be a Christian, but that's the extent of his Christianity. He claims to be. And if you've been with us for any length of time and studied the Bible with us or studied it yourself, you know that just claiming to be a Christian doesn't make you a Christian by any stretch.
If he was really a godly man, he would have been talking about God all the time, not just
Right.
when he came close to death.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's the only reason I want to point that out. And I know I elaborated quite a bit, but I just want to make sure you understand what I'm talking about. That yes, it was God, but it doesn't make Trump a godly man that we should automatically follow because God kept him alive. No, that is not what we should get out of that. God kept him alive for a purpose, but we don't know what it is yet. And it's not because Trump is a godly man. We know them by their fruits, and he's never done anything that I know of for God. So be that as it may, you may disagree with me, but I have to point that out. God does what he does for his purpose, and not necessarily setting up kings because they're good, but he puts them there for his purpose, just like it says in Revelation 17:17. Point this out for any new people. Revelation 17:17, talking about the 10 kings. The 10 horns, which will align with the fourth beast of Daniel 7, which becomes, aligned with the other three beasts in Revelation 13. Again, here in Revelation 17, it's talking about the 10 kings, the 10 horns of that beast of Daniel 7. Their God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled. God is very much in control. God puts it in those kings' hearts to do what he wants them to do. Are those kings good kings, godly kings? No way.
No, Biden is not a godly king, but
God put him there. Yeah.
Yeah.
To fulfill his will. So God is very much in control. And that's the point I'm making.
right.
And not to get wrapped up in this, wow, God saved him, so he must be in the will of God. No, God does things with people that are not in his will for his purpose. And
I still like Trump, but I don't think, he's the best president of my lifetime, but it doesn't make him godly.
And I like Trump for this country.
For the country.
Because he's about restoring the wealth and the
Constitution,
the country and the Constitution and keeping this country what it used to be instead of letting it change into a communistic country, what they're trying to do. So,
and he is just a man. He is just a man. And it's like we were talking about, he's not, people have got to stop worshiping Trump.
Yeah,
they've got to stop worshiping Biden. They've got to stop worshiping Obama. These people are not our savior. Our heavenly Father is our savior.
Right. And while I like Trump, and he's, in my opinion, the only choice for our president because of what it means for this country. I don't want this country to turn communist, which is what they are trying to do. So Trump is at least going to put that off for a little while longer, which I'm all for
I'm
that.
hoping that God uses him for that situation. But
Yeah.
before we get too far off,
Yeah.
Moonhawks was saying that he was impressed when Alex's son Rex preached about Jesus. Unfortunately, he attends an Orthodox church. And then he said, Jeremiah 17:5, thus saith the Lord, cursed be the man that trusteth in man and maketh flesh his arm, and whose heart just departeth from the Lord. That's exactly right.
Yeah, very good point.
Yes. That's very
Moonhawk.
good point. Moonhawk.
Thank you, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I won't beat that to death anymore.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure people understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yes, this is for real. An Ohio town of 60,000, not a really big town, was sent 20,000 illegal immigrants from Haiti. And you've got to understand what this does to a small town of 60,000. It's going to completely and utterly decimate it. It's
going to destroy the town.
This is ridiculous. It's Springfield, Ohio. And it's just, this is a common occurrence that we're seeing today. We've seen videos from people in Colorado and all different states, and the things that are going on. We think this is only in New York and California. No, this is all over the country. They're shipping them they're sending thousands of people to towns all over the country.
That's like our tiny little town getting all those people.
Yeah, 20,000 would completely destroy it.
It would destroy us.
And the thing we have to recognize is this is purposeful.
Yes.
This is on purpose, people. This is not just accident. This is on purpose.
What do you mean, are they Christians?
Who?
Moonhawk says, are they Christians? These Haitians? These illegals?
Probably not. They're illegal immigrants. They're not legal immigrants. They're illegals. And they're the majority of illegals.
Please elaborate.
The majority of illegals are Muslim, especially coming from places like Haiti and Africa.
And Haiti, they're mostly they're not as much Muslim. They're a lot of them are Catholic, but a lot of them are, the majority of Haiti are like witch doctors,
right? That
are not witch doctor, but like they're into like voodoo
they're
stuff. Voodooists or whatever.
That's the majority that.
Yeah, Haiti.
Yeah, true. And Catholic, but Catholic isn't really Christian.
Some Catholics, but they really, really hate the Catholics because remember Mother Teresa went to Haiti and tried to do things for Haiti. The Clintons were involved in that, and they really don't like the Western world. They don't like the United States and all that because of what we did to them. Yeah. Clinton did to them, but they're mostly voodoo.
Yeah. And and I say Muslim because there is a strong population of Muslim there, and a lot of many of the illegals coming across the border are Muslim from multiple countries. Yes, not all, but a lot of them.
Yeah,
So I don't know if that answered your question or not. The answer probably is I don't know. No.
Maybe I don't know.
So and then this is another one. Chicago, imam telling children that their number one goal should be to die as a Muslim and go to paradise. And what that means, it doesn't just mean that they're going to die as a Muslim. It means they're going to die as a martyr for Islam. That's what that's talking
Are
about.
these Muslim children or just regular children
Well,
in this
these are
class?
Muslim children
Oh.
in Chicago school.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's a Muslim school, I'm sure.
Okay.
But it's, kill and be
Yeah.
killed for their God. Die as a martyr. And my point is, this is what they teach children in places like Gaza and
Oh, yeah.
Muslim countries. They're
Mhm.
they're teaching this to children in the United States now. And that's the point I'm making.
Because there's
This
a lot
is
of
in
Muslims.
Chicago,
Mhm.
teaching these children that they should be martyrs. Yeah. And then a token response, which is ridiculous because this is what they want. So Biden's response to this is just a laughable joke. And, they've halted the release of these Muslim migrants into the U.S. over jihad terror fears after hundreds were already let in.
I think
right?
there's thousands of them
There's
that are
millions.
already in.
Yeah.
Well,
millions.
I mean, the jihad.
Right.
There's thousands of them.
And this particular group of them, right? Yeah. So it's a
too
joke.
late. It's too late
It's
now.
a joke, is what it is.
And in Poland, they've been trying to keep the people out. They're spraying.
They're doing a really good job in Poland in keeping the illegals out and Muslims.
Yeah,
they're throwing rocks at the people on the other side, and
they want them in.
I wish
they're trying
we
to save
would
their country.
Establish our border again.
And then I found out that only 37% of London are actually Brits. So 60-some% are all Muslim
right.
illegals.
London has become Londonistan.
Yeah.
It is a Muslim city.
Their number one name in London now is Muhammad.
Yeah. That's what
they're pushing everybody out.
It is no longer an English city. It's not a Muslim city.
Moonhog said send the Muslims to China. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they do have just all go to the countries they're leaving, and we can build a paradise.
Yeah, they're actually Muslim slaves in China. The Uyghur Muslims, they're working their factories and stuff like that in China.
Yeah. And China actually tries to eliminate Islam
well, that's why they
China.
put them to work in all their what do you call those?
The factories.
The sweatshops, and the sweatshops and stuff like that.
So this one was just this is like every buzzword in this. Police officers touched a Muslim disabled trans person of color. Like, wait, what?
That's an oxymoron.
Every buzzword in this little protest. And male officers touched a disabled Muslim trans person of color.
A Muslim trans person, it shouldn't even be in the same sentence.
It doesn't work.
They don't. Oh my gosh.
Oh man, that's just like wow. And then Israel and Hamas, they're this whole, who's going to rule when the war's over? That's been up for debate for a while, since the war started, really.
Well, it's not Biden.
Well, Biden's trying to force this. And this is one of the...
He's going to get too sick to...
But this is one of the things that I was reading about, is that Biden's pushing this really hard because he wants to make this his claim to fame. He wants to be the man who creates the peace treaty in Israel. And that would propel him to infamy, right? This president that did this finally, after so many have failed. And he's trying to do it before the election so that he can use it as this, glorifying thing that, oh, look what I did. But we'll see if anything happens. But they're talking about who's going to rule. And the point I want to make here is that I really believe they're going to force a two-state solution. I keep saying this. I keep seeing more and more news about it, where this regime plan that Biden is actually trying to implement would, I quote, security would be provided by a force trained by the United States. If you didn't catch that.
Yeah, say it over.
Security would be provided by a force trained by the United States. So, a two-state solution. Jerusalem compassed with armies.
Oh.
And then the desolation is nigh, as Jesus said. Where they're going to have United Nations forces forcing a peace treaty, forcing them to stop fighting each other. That is a two-state solution.
Sheila says they want to turn Buckingham Palace into a mosque.
Buckingham Palace.
And the British.
I don't doubt that. I haven't heard that.
The English people are so angry at this. They don't want this. And what it's doing, it's pushing all of the British people outside of London, and they're moving to
the countryside.
Yeah, the countryside, and they're scattering now because they don't want to stay in London
because London has fallen. Yeah, if you don't want to comply and become a Muslim, you have to leave. Yeah. Otherwise, you'll be so persecuted, they'll eventually kill you or enslave you, which is what Muslims do. You can't live alongside them without being their slave or becoming one.
And they're not tolerant of Muslims. They tell people, "Oh, London mayor is Muslim."
Yes. Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah. Well, that's it. The reason why is because of the open borders that has been in Europe for years now. And you're with the open border here in the U.S., they're trying to catch us up really fast. That's why you have the United Nations, the EU, the United States, all of the powers of the West are paying for this massive influx of people across our border. They're actually paying for their routes. They're busing them in, flying them in, boating them in, giving them money, giving them passports, giving them everything they need to get here. Because they're trying to catch us up to Europe. Now, you might ask, why in the world would they want that? Well, that's a good question. And if you've been with us for a while, you know the answer. It's because Satan is behind this. Satan is trying to bring the West to its knees. Satan is going to bring out his Islamic Antichrist, the Muslim Mahdi, the savior of the world, which will be the Antichrist of the Bible. And in order to do that, he's got to bring the Western powers down. Yep. So he's well on his way.
Manipulated.
And all of these people, like that guy right there, believes somewhere in his mind that he's doing some kind of good thing, even though he has no idea what he's really doing.
But that's the other ungodly
They don't know. Yeah, they don't know. They don't know the whole plan of Satan.
No.
All of the puppets in his force of puppets only know a little piece of their part of the world. And some of them are convinced they're doing good. Some of them are just bribed. Their greed and their pride is all Satan needs to make them do what they want them to do. And some of them are being blackmailed. I mean, they have so much control now that, I remember back in the 80s, people in my generation, we were talking about the rage against the machine. I hated the machine when I was young. I hated this. And now it's so 40 years later, here is so much more in our face. And they don't even care that we know now, because they have so much control. They don't care. They know that we can't do anything about it anymore. 40 years ago, we might have been able to stop it. Today, forget it. They have too much control. And then just had to show this, an article about Soros' anti-Christian radical left-wing agenda. Step one of the plan, infiltrate America's schools. This was 40 years ago.
Need to get kids out of school.
This was in the 80s. They implemented this plan, and they've been pushing this radical agenda in the schools for 40 years.
Oh, yeah.
All of our kids, the millennials, the Gen Zs, the now Gen Alphas, are all completely indoctrinated with this wokeism, this ridiculous anti-Christian radical hatred.
Except for those that came out of First Press.
Christian school.
Yeah.
Yeah. But public schools have been infiltrated for 40 plus years now.
Sheila says, how come we don't have, let me see. I don't have my glasses. How come we don't have persecuted Christian refugees from non-Christian countries go to Europe?
Yeah, because it's not part of Satan's plan.
Yeah, that's not part of Satan's plan. That would be great.
But that's a good point. I mean, there are a lot of persecuted Christians in Muslim countries that would love to flee to someplace like Europe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or at least used to,
well,
what Europe used to be anyway.
I'd be okay with them coming to America if they were
but that's the thing. Why is it all a bunch of Muslims? Why is it all a bunch of military, a bunch of guys in military uniforms? Muslims and Chinese. Why is it only them? Yeah. Are these refugees? No. The point is they're not refugees.
And cartels, Mexican cartels.
Yeah.
The Muslims are planning on taking over the world.
Yeah. That's
their Mahdi.
That's their doctrine, is to take over the world.
There's something about it in the Quran.
Yes. Yeah, and that's part of their prophecy. The prophecy that Satan set up in Islam is that they're going to rule the world.
Yeah, or if you're not going to, you have to pay their tax.
Yeah, jizya. Yep. So that's been going on a long time now. If I had kids that were in school, I would yank them out so fast.
Well, I had Alex, and a lot of his years were in First Press. Now I wish that Andy would not have been in.
Yeah. Well, I wish I would have known all this when my kids were in school, because they went through public school, and I hate it.
But we all went through public school. I didn't go to.
Yeah, but it wasn't as bad. In the 60s.
It wasn't as bad when
in the
Alex
60s
was
and
going.
70s. It wasn't as bad. It was in the 80s and 90s it started getting really, really bad, and the indoctrination.
Mm-hmm.
So our kids,
Yeah.
And this is a kind of a distressing article. Almost 50% of 80,000 small businesses in the United States say they won't survive. They already know they are not going to survive. They're going to go out of business unless something drastically changes.
Like Trump getting into the presidency.
If he can even turn it around fast enough.
If it's not too late. And I think that that's what they're thinking too, is that they can run it into the hole and run it into the ground so bad that not even Trump will be able to bring it back.
Right. That's what they're trying to do. That's why they're pushing so hard, so fast, because they want to make sure they get it done. So it's too bad to fix it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so bad that he can't fix it.
And that's the thing I was just talking about. Satan's plan.
That's why he's not your savior.
Yeah.
He's just a man.
Yeah.
He's just a man.
Satan's plan is to destroy the West through the economy, through immigration, through race war. All of those things are happening. Part of the economical stuff is controlling the food, destroying the food market, which is well on the way. I've got a thing I'm going to show you later about that. After we drop YouTube. And then the biggest global companies are colluding to censor conservatives. Now, this came from the House Judiciary Committee, where they released a report exposing the collusion between these powerful corporations. It's going to be much, much worse now than it was in 2016, 2020. Google bought YouTube. They're ramping up their new algorithms and their new plans. Facebook, Facebook, I post all of my live streams and videos on Facebook.
Yeah.
I always have. The last couple of years since we've been doing live streams, for years and years since I've been making videos. And all of a sudden Facebook is deleting my video posts. Oh, this goes against community standards. We think you're spamming. We think you're trying to, cheat people into getting clicks and likes. And, it's the control is getting really, really bad. And I really expect my main site, BibleProphecyandTruth.com, is on GoDaddy servers right now. I want to try to move them. I've moved it so many times. I'm sick of moving it. But I know GoDaddy is a major woke corporation that if they're told to shut off my site, they'll shut off my site. So the reason I say make sure you bookmark prophecyandtruth.com, because that's another site. BibleProphecyandTruth.com is my main, but prophecyandtruth.com is a sister site, which has most of the same stuff. It has my whole book on it and everything, but it just doesn't have all the newsletters and all that.
Yeah. It's
but
just a website.
It's on Epic servers, which is a non-woke company specifically made for people for free speech. So it will probably survive at least the initial trying to shut everybody down. So if Bible Prophecy and Truth goes away, make sure you have a bookmark to prophecyandtruth.com, because that one will probably remain alive. And then I also have the videos.prophecyandtruth.com, which has all our videos on it. So just a note, I don't expect to live much longer in the video streaming and website space.
I was like, wait.
I'm talking about online.
I don't expect to live much longer.
I don't expect.
What do you know that I don't?
I don't expect our YouTube channel to last much longer. Website probably even going to go away soon. So because they're really, 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 and especially with AI now, they're able to use AI to go out and find things much more quickly than analysts trying to do it, or just a programmer trying to write code to go and write and find stuff. AI is making that way easier for them.
Anyway, Jay says, I'm just hoping Trump roots them out so bad that they can't reform anytime soon.
Yeah, and that would be nice.
That would be nice.
Except for the fact that they don't exist just in the U.S. In fact, they are all over the world. And in fact, I'm going to show you some stuff about China. Even China is not, not one of them. Satan has just as much control of China as he does Muslim nations and the Western world. He just uses them in different ways. He's manipulating them all. So it'd be nice, but and he might slow things down, which would really be nice. I agree with you.
That would be great.
But the CCP is taking next steps towards this. It's no longer the New World Order. It is now the multipolar world order. And just recently, Putin and Xi Jinping were at a gathering of leaders from in Shanghai. This meeting they had talking about how to make this happen. BRICS is a big thing. A lot of countries are signing on to BRICS to get away from the U.S. dollar, because that will destroy the United States just by taking its dollar power away.
Yeah.
And they're talking, they're colluding to create this new multipolar world order with, of course, China as the head. That's, the 100-year plan of China has been accelerated big time, and they're trying to make it happen now. Which, they're like 70 years in, and it was a 100-year plan, but they're trying to take advantage of all of the chaos in the world and trying to make it happen now. And then, they're doing the same thing as in China as they are in the US, the consolidation of the money, the control of money. We had this, banks are still failing, by the way. They haven't stopped. You just don't hear about it anymore in the news. But we had, those major bank failures just recent in the last couple of years. And then, here we see that 40 Chinese banks just poof, gone, absorbed by the big banks. And this is just the same thing in China that they're doing in the US. We don't hear about it here because
what's happening in Europe?
Nobody cares about it here. Nobody cares about China and their banking, but it's interesting and it's very relevant to what's happening because they're all doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. It's all about control. It's going to be a world digital ID. That's what the Antichrist is going to implement. All of this preparation, all this stuff they're doing is just leading to the ability for him to do that when it comes to that day.
He's not going to have to try very hard. I think he's just going to
the system's already going to exist. He's just going to take it over.
Sheila says, just the thought. I have to pull it up. A lot of non-Christians in both parties. I wonder what would happen to this nation if a non-Christian became commander-in-chief.
Yeah, well, I have to ask you if you think that our commander-in-chief is a Christian.
Yeah, I think she's talking about Trump getting in, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, supposedly Biden claims to be a Catholic, which calls themselves Christians.
Well, he believes in abortion, late-term abortion. I can't even imagine him being a good Catholic at this point.
If I understand your question correctly, I ask, when have we actually had a true Christian as commander-in-chief? I don't know. I really couldn't answer that question.
A person who really loved God. Yeah. Do you think Reagan?
I don't think, I personally don't think that we ever have, only because politics is full of liars and cheaters.
Right.
Yeah. And mostly they're there because they are hungry for power.
Yeah.
And that's why they're in that position.
Yeah, and that's Annie, that's actually what I think too, because politics in itself breeds that type of I don't want to say personality, but that
lust for power.
Yeah, well, it breeds
people that want that. Yeah.
That it's an agenda. Being in politics, you have an agenda. And like, I know there's a couple of people that are like Matt Gaetz, who is one of our congressmen. He claims to love God, outwardly claims to love God. Marjorie Taylor Greene claims that, but that's another one that's looking for fruit.
Because it's popular to be a Christian.
Okay with homosexuality.
But to answer your what?
Not Matt Gaetz.
Marjorie Greene.
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I think Marjorie Taylor Greene really does want to do good, but I think that she's messed up several times already. I think she's believing people she shouldn't believe, and she's real. I think she's really trying. But
I think she's going over the top.
That maybe there are some people that start off in politics.
Right, like Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Well,
but then they get
can't
turned.
Make it unless they buy somebody's vote.
Yes,
right.
And Annie's absolutely correct about that, because Matt Gaetz was talking about that on a podcast that I was watching, and that you have to literally put up money to push your agenda ahead. There's and that's with Congress, in Congress.
That's
and
how corrupt our government is.
Government just
It's
cannot
a big, huge money laundering machine is all it is.
You have to tell people to not talk about certain things because the media will get to it and it'll ruin your name.
Yes, there's lies and secrets, and
it is a
I agree with
big
you.
machine that's so corrupt. And that's exactly it.
Yeah, and
but let me answer Sheila's question, because she said Muslims.
She said Hindus and Muslims.
And Muslims.
Maybe she's talking about.
So if someone
Protestant
was elected to our commander-in-chief that's like a Muslim, for example, well, then look at what happened in London. They have a Muslim.
The mayor is the Muslim.
Mayor. And look what happened in Minnesota, in Michigan, where they have Muslims in government there as their representatives and senators and governors.
Ilhan Omar is in Minnesota.
It turns Muslim. Yeah.
Yes.
Very quickly. So
that's what would happen. Yeah.
So it would.
Yeah, I see.
That's what's going to happen to the world, actually, and that's a very good point, Sheila, because when the Antichrist comes on the scene, it's going to be in the aftermath, most likely, of the Sixth Trumpet War. Mm-hmm. And he's going to use peace as a weapon to gain his power. And he's going to take over the world. And it's going to be a Muslim dictatorship. And you're going to be forced to either comply or die. And that's what the Bible tells us. So we can actually expect this to happen in the future, probably the near future.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Yeah, and politics, if any one of them actually started in politics, truly loving God, being in politics, and it wouldn't take very long, it would have them turned in no time against God or doing anything that was godly, just like law enforcement changes an innocent dude. A young innocent man goes into law enforcement and he comes out hardened.
Well, he comes out and too exposed, good, and then you get exposed to all that corruption and all the crime and all the evil and darkness, and it changes you.
Yeah. So if there was a true Christian man that became president,
he wouldn't stay that way.
He wouldn't make it.
Yeah, he would never make it.
Yeah. So, and then an article, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Judicial Watch, but it's a good I
don't like the guy.
Company, I should say. It's a website. It's a force. It's a group of people that are fighting corruption. But they have this article here about how untold numbers of fighting age males dressed in military uniforms are entering the United States through remote areas that have no border patrol presence. So they're just walking right in. All these military, legions of military coming across our border dressed in military fatigues, and this one particularly is about Mexican cartels and their fighting forces. And then we've seen Chinese military groups coming across, Islamic military groups coming across. We've seen videos and articles galore about those. It's a horrible thing what's happening to the United States right now.
Yes, it's very informative.
Violation upon the.
Why are you guys whispering?
I don't know, because it's very loud. Because your voice is very loud.
Oh.
Yeah, you're not saying nothing, so I'm reading it to myself.
So, again, in the United States, I'm in Miami. talking about how the Muslims will inherit the lands, home, and property of the Jews. That's actually part of the doctrine of Islam, that Muslims will take over and will own everything. They're going to destroy the Jews and they're going to wipe them out. They're going to take over all of their lands and homes and properties. That's just part of the doctrine of Islam, the Jew hatred religion. You know, this is what we're going to get. We're going to get all of their stuff. So keep killing them, basically, is what he's saying. And then the United Nations finally admits that it paid for anti-Israel lobbying. Oh, really? I'm glad they finally admitted that, because it's been going on for a long, long time.
Yeah, because they don't really care what anybody does or says or thinks.
But the United Nations is supposed to be this, center, rights for everyone. Let's all get along.
That's gone out the window a long time ago.
But they hate Israel. It's so weird that people actually think that the United Nations is an organization that wants peace and equality and all that. No, it's just run by a bunch of Jew haters, is what it is.
I mean, Gab is a bunch of Jew haters.
I know. That's why I don't really like Gab so much anymore. I don't really spend much time on there anymore. I still post my stuff, but the creator of Gab, the leader of Gab, claims that he doesn't hate Jews, but at the same time, whenever he says anything, Jew hatred spews from his mouth. It's just funny. He says that he doesn't, but I just don't even like it. It's just full of
hate,
Jew haters.
Yeah.
It's full of them. I'm sick of it.
It's all about hate.
I have to block people. Every time I go on there, I have to block someone. It's crazy. Really, seriously.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and then before we conclude our news, I wanted to promote Adam's website. Adam and Sachiko have been are young Christians that we're so proud and happy to have them in our family, the family of God. And Sachiko makes a lot of the images for the live streams and the videos I've been making. And Adam is working on this website. And I just wanted anyone that's watching this live stream, watches our channel, if you're Polish or have family that's Polish, if you have friends or anyone in Poland or people that speak Polish, that to show them this website, because Adam has been working very, very hard to create this website. He's been translating BibleProphecyandTruth.com into Polish, all of the articles there, and he's got a lot of them done already. Quite a few of the chapters of the different book sections. He's got a bunch of the notes done.
He's working so hard on that.
He's working really, really hard at creating all of this in Polish. So if you know anyone, or if you're Polish or you have family in Poland, people that speak Polish, please do send them this website and help promote.
Where can they find it? So if someone is listening right now, where?
Right there.
Okay, so they're just going to click on this screen right here?
Yes. Well, no, they would have to type that in.
So maybe.
I can post it in the chat. Yeah, I'll do that. So bear with me for a sec.
Because
the screen's going to look funny for a second. So I just posted it in the chat.
And then,
let me go to Rumble. Oh, crap.
No, don't leave. Don't
Don't
leave.
Don't do that.
No.
Don't do that. Stop.
Cancel.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I almost just I almost just left
Jeez.
the live stream.
Oh.
Oh, what a knucklehead. So it posted on YouTube and on Facebook. So let me go here and go to Rumble instead of there. Sorry about that. Man, that would have been a horrible mistake.
Yeah.
So let me there, and he's got a lot of them done already. And sorry about that. I had to go there to post it. So there we are. And hopefully so we didn't go offline. Thank God.
Yeah, so that we're putting it in the chats.
Thank God for the, are you sure you want to do this, you idiot button there. So I could say, no, I don't want to do
I'm just sitting here.
Like, wait a minute, not on this one.
I'm like, don't even.
So anyway.
Don't even click on that.
And yes, I can call myself an idiot and then it's okay.
Nobody else can though.
Well,
yeah. So anyway, so that website is in both chats. So if you're on YouTube, Facebook,
Rumble,
or I'm getting to that.
Okay.
So if you're on
I wasn't
Facebook,
hurrying you, honey. Don't get upset with me.
or I can't even think. So all of the places that we call off are going to be there.
Yeah. I just posted it on StreamYard, so it went everywhere, and then on Rumble, so we're good. It's on every channel.
Maybe he should choose an easier to pronounce
URL. Well, I think it probably says Bible Prophecy and Truth in Polish or something like that. I don't know.
Oh,
but
yeah,
but that's what I bet it is. So.
Yeah, because that's what it is. And he is an IT guy.
Yeah. So
yeah.
God bless you, Adam, and I hope that you reach many, many, many people with that.
Yeah, he is. He's sharing it. He's sharing everything.
Yeah. So I'm going to go to switch gears now, and I'm going to go. Basically, what I'm going to do today is just introduce you to the creation versus evolution argument, because it is an argument that happens all day, every day, between atheists and creationists, and there's the thing that I talk about on this, and we're going to go through all of these chapters. I have 11 chapters specifically devoted to this question, and we're going to go through one chapter each live, just like we have been for all the other chapters. We went through prophecy, we went through truth. Now we're going to go through creation versus evolution, and then at the end of that, I'll probably go into some of the notes and start talking about maybe some of the notes, some of the newsletters that are very good study material, and so we'll figure out what we're going to do. But for now, we're going to go through this whole series, and there's just a couple things to point out. I mean, these are the questions, right? If you believe in evolution, then, oops, gosh, I'm just click happy with the mouse today. If you believe in evolution, then it's like, what's the point of anything?
Yeah.
Dude, you have no hope. You have no, there's not even any, what's morality? It's nothing. I mean, that's one of the reasons that so many people have become so immoral, is because the whole idea of evolution just devalues any kind of moral standards, any kind of goodness versus evil. I mean, if we're just evolved, we just are what we are. So if we think what we are is evil, then why is it evil? We're just evolving, right? And it takes away all of that. It takes away any human goodness, any reason for existence, all of that. Now, that doesn't prove that creation is true. What it does is it just shows how easily people get depressed these days, because there is no hope. If you have no hope, if there's nothing to look forward to, if there's nothing to be happy about, what's the purpose of anything? Then how can you be happy?
Right.
I mean, really. And
if it's just going to go poof and go away.
yeah, or evolve into something completely unhuman soon enough, what's the point of anything? Is global warming true? Is it our fault that the ice caps are melting? Is there, are there really dinosaurs? What does the fossil record really show us? Is the earth really billions of years old? Does creation fit in the Bible? All of these things. We're going to talk about all of that. Or I'm sorry, I meant, does the creation account in the Bible have room for evolution? Does evolution fit in the Bible? Is what I meant. Of course, creation does. That's where it came from. I meant evolution.
You're doing good there, Moses.
No, thanks. I'm batting 100 today. Yeah. So all of these questions, I mean, these are questions every human being has. Is the Bible true? Is evolution true? Where do we go when we die? Are we just dead? Is there nothing after? Is there some kind of afterlife? Is there, these are all questions that everyone has. And if we're a Christian, if we really love God, then we have faith, and we have our hope is in the promises of God and his revelations to us, and what he gave us, the account of what he did, the account of everything that's happened and everything that's going to happen, all the way up until eternity, where there's no more death, no more pain, no more sorrow. God really told us everything we need to know in the words of the Bible. Everything. It's all there. And if we don't believe that, if we don't believe the Bible, then, I probably don't have a lot of people watching this channel that don't believe the Bible. But if you're a person that's happened to stumble here, or maybe you watch because you like the news stuff and you're curious about the prophecy stuff, I ask you to stick with us through this study, because what I'm going to show you here is not biblical proof of things. What I'm going to show you here is how science proves the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
The opposite. I'm going to show you what science really does show us in the earth, because just like all of the science in the medical field today and pharmaceuticals and everything that they're telling us, and how they won't talk about things that they don't want to, even though they're true. They've been doing this for years in the science community when it comes to fossil records, evidence in the earth. It's been completely and utterly ignored if it doesn't fit. If it doesn't fit with their theories, then you chuck it out the window, even though it may disprove your theory. You can't talk about it because it doesn't fit. So we're going to talk about all of that stuff in the coming few weeks as we go through each one of these chapters. And it really is, it's fascinating when you actually really look at it. And I'm going to give you just a couple of little things, like on this one about how old is the earth. There's something that I discovered that I didn't even know before. Just recently, and I've just recently added this to my website, where this is in the Grand Canyon, and these are names that are given to certain lava flows. There's the Cardenas basalt, which is a layer of lava buried well beneath the Grand Canyon. That's called the Cardenas basalts or basalts. I don't know how you pronounce it. It's supposed to be 1,090 million years old. So like a billion years old. Now there's volcanoes at the top of the Grand Canyon, which are the Uinkaret lava flows. When these volcanoes erupted about 1,000 years ago or so, or 1,000 years or approximately 1,000 years ago. And the lava flowed from the top all the way down the Grand Canyon to the bottom. Now they say, and I say they say because they use now if you don't know science, you don't know what the PB lead isochron test is. Just know that this is one of their, like the the tests that they do on things to determine their ages. It's the radiocarbon decay kind of thing, right? The carbon test stuff. Well, the lead isochron test is supposed to be the most reliable and accurate of dating methods that they have. Well, the Uinkaret lava flows that came from the top of the Grand Canyon and flowed down were tested at, 1.5 billion years old. When the stuff buried underneath, far beneath the Grand Canyon, is younger than that. When this came from the top. So tell me how their dating methods can even remotely be accurate?
Totally inaccurate.
I mean, this is ridiculous. This is 1 billion years old. This is 1.5 billion years old, but it came from volcanoes at the top of the canyon.
Did you just hit yourself?
Yes. Because that's how dumb it is. But people, but believe me, I'm on a number of groups on Facebook that argue creation versus evolution all the time. You can point this kind of stuff out to people, atheists on there, and
they get ticked off at you and walk away.
No, they attack.
Oh
him.
No, they'll mock you and say how stupid you are for not understanding the science.
They attack you physically,
and then if you continue to show them other evidences, then it becomes a personal attack. Just like when you talk about biblical things and people don't like it, they turn the attack against you personally when they can't argue with the scriptures. It's the same thing across, into this, but it's just so silly. And another thing is Mount St. Helens eruption. I was living in Seattle, Washington, when Mount St. Helens erupted. I saw out my living room window, I saw the plume of ash from the eruption of the mountain. I remember it vividly. I even rode my motorcycle toward the mountain, but I could only get so far, and there was too much ash. I had to turn around. But what's happened in the area around Mount St. Helens is baffling science, because the rock there, when they do their testing on it, their date testing shows that they're really, really old. When we know for a fact that they just formed a few decades ago from Mount St. Helens. It's ridiculous. It's just, and this is just one of the types of things we're going to be looking at as far as what science shows us and what the reality of it. And then, at the bottom of this page, I have some statements. There's 80,000 tons of mud per hour that the Mississippi dumps into the Gulf of Mexico. That's a measured thing that you can actually look it up. 80,000 tons of mud per hour gets dumped in the Gulf of Mexico from the Mississippi River. Well, the delta, the flow of all that mud that's collected at the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico has been measured. And they show that it's been doing that. It's been dumping 80,000 tons of mud per hour for 4,400 years. That's how long the Mississippi River has existed. because that's how big the delta is in the Gulf of
Mhm.
Mexico.
That's why the Mississippi River is so nasty.
What?
It's so
What?
cold.
What?
No, because it's been doing that for 4,400 years. They say that the Mississippi River is the nastiest, dirtiest river in the United
Oh,
States.
well,
It
I've heard
starts on
that.
top
Yeah,
and it
very
goes
true.
down.
It is like mud. It's nothing but
Yeah.
mud. And that's why. I don't know, you guys. Moonhawk says, don't forget about giants. Oh yeah. But giants did
exist, and I am going to talk about that.
Yes.
Yes.
And dinosaurs. See,
Yeah.
American hasn't been around. I'm sorry, Hawks hasn't been around for the creation.
Right.
So he's probably going to find it very
you're probably going to
fascinating.
enjoy the next couple of weeks. So,
Yeah,
bristlecone
watch the videos too.
And the videos.
and I'm going to be showing at the bottom of this page.
Yeah, there you
And
go.
at the bottom of the first couple of chapters, I have this link here to the Creation versus Evolution seminar. It's a 3-part seminar. It's about a total of 6 hours between the 3 videos. If you watch all of those, you'll get a preview of what we're going to be talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And Diane
Did that.
made these videos from a live stream that we did a couple years ago, and added tons of really cool video documentation on exactly what we're talking about during the live stream, and inserts it in there. It's done so absolutely amazing.
Moonhawk
We had
said Genesis.
fun on that live stream too.
What?
We had a lot of fun on that live stream.
Yeah,
too.
we did.
Yeah, we did. Moonhawk said that Genesis is one of his favorite books. Mine too.
Yeah, Genesis got so much.
Has always been my favorite
Yeah, it's
book.
just awesome. But if you haven't seen that video series, watch it, because it'll give you a little preview. But to finish what I was saying, so Mississippi River's been doing that for 4,400 years. Bristlecone pines are considered or thought to be the oldest living trees in the world. And the redwoods in California are the biggest and oldest. And guess how old those trees are? They're about 4,000 years old.
Ooh, 4,000.
Imagine that. So what happened 4,400 years ago? Science data shows that something happened to the magnetic poles about 4,000 years ago. There were major shifts and swings in the magnetic poles about 4,000 years ago. Same thing with oil pressure. It can only be expected to last about 5,000 years before the pressure, those oil fields the containment will deteriorate and it'll collapse upon itself. So has it been around for 65 million years? If that's about all it can be, these things don't make sense. But the point I'm making here is we know what happened 4,400 years ago exactly. The flood. The flood happened 4,400 years ago. The entire surface of the earth was changed 4,400 years ago. That's why the Mississippi River has literally only existed for 4,400 years. The redwood trees have only existed for 4,400 years. The magnetic poles shifted 4,400 years ago, and I'm going to explain that when we go through this in the next few weeks, when we talk about all the changes and what the firmament was and what really happened at the flood, and why we saw those magnetic pole shifts. We're going to talk about all that stuff. So stick with us for the next few weeks.
Moonhawk said God divided the land in the days of Joktan. Who's Joktan?
In the days of Joktan?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you mean there, if you're talking about a Hebrew word or something in the Bible.
Peleg.
Yeah.
I don't know who Peleg is.
So we're going to talk about all that stuff, and we're especially going to talk about the creation.
Genesis 10:25.
Oh yeah.
Born two sons.
After the flood.
Oh, okay.
He divided the land after the Tower of Babel.
I've read it 6 times.
Yeah.
And I don't
So,
remember.
but we're going to talk about all of that stuff.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Believe me.
He'll
So-
enjoy it.
So yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to keep the news to as short as possible so that we can spend some time on this when we're going through it all.
Wednesday.
For the next couple of weeks, yeah, as we're talking about this stuff.
This is really cool. All
Are
these
we dropping off of YouTube?
We're gonna drop off of YouTube. Sheila, if you're still on YouTube,
Yeah.
you can go to videos.prophecyandtruth.com. In fact, if you put the banner up, she'll be able to see that. If you go to videos.prophecyandtruth.com and click on the live stream right on the front page at the top, and then you'll be able to pick up the live from there, or you can go to rumble.com/Bible prophecy and pick up the live there, because I'm going to talk about something that would get us banned from YouTube now.
Bible prophecy and truth.com -videos.
No.
Oh, videos.
Videos.prophecyandtruth.com. Yeah.
Mhm.
So go ahead, and we're going to leave YouTube now. If you're on YouTube or if you're watching later, please do switch over and pick up the end of this on another
Go on your
channel.
website or on Rumble. Okay.
Either one, yeah.
Or Facebook. Okay, remove.
Remove. Yeah.